the large signal and small signal operation of differential amplifiers and their associated properties. As you have seen in my earlier lecture that a differential amplifier is formed by two matched transistors along with their two matched collector resistor, and their common emitter is connected with a DC current source I, and the supplies I have used, that is plus VCC and minus VEE. So these dual supplies are used to design these differential amplifier. Although a single supply can also be used. Single supply means plus VCC and the ground. But there are many advantages of using this dual supply. So as soon as you will apply this common voltage to the input of both of these transistors, these two transistors will carry the current I by 2. The emitter current of both of these transistors will carry the current I by 2. So equally divide this current which is being used to bias both of these transistors, and this I by 2 current will be maintained through each of these transistors as long as this VCM, the maximum value of the VCM, is less than that value of VCM for which these two transistors will remain in active region and not going into the saturation region, as well as the minimum value of this VCM will be just less than the value required to provide the proper biasing of this current source so that it can maintain the constant current I. Because later on I will discuss the design of this current source. This current source is designed using a bipolar junction transistor. So the proper or necessary biasing must require to this I current to be constant for the entire operation of this transistor or during the operation of these transistors. Therefore, as long as these conditions are maintained for a common mode voltage, these two transistors will carry the similar current, similar emitter current I divided by 2. So corresponding collector current will be alpha times IE1 and alpha times IE2. So alpha times I divided by 2 and alpha times I divided by 2 for both of these transistors. So the differential mode voltage we generally measure. So this particular differential amplifier is differential input and balanced output type differential amplifier. Therefore, the output will be measured with respect to each other. So here I've considered the V01 minus V02. This is the output voltage, but you can design a differential amplifier where the voltage will be measured just opposite direction, that is V02 minus V01. So here throughout my lecture and throughout my design I will prefer to measure the voltage with respect to V01. So therefore the total output voltage will be V01 minus V02, the differential output. Now, since both of these transistors are biased at a similar current or same current, so the voltage appearing at this V01 as well as at the V02 will be same. Therefore, the differential voltage will be 0. Thus, a differential amplifier rejects the output for a common mode input. Now, the emitter voltage, this voltage, you can easily find out by subtracting these base to emitter voltage from the applied voltage VCM. So the base to emitter voltage I have assumed it is 0.7 volt. So therefore this will be the emitter voltage. But since this minus VE, a negative DC voltage, is applied as a dual supply, as one of the supply, so therefore the voltage appearing across this current source is this one. So VE minus of minus VE, so VE plus VE. Now the common mode range. I have discussed the common mode range, that is the maximum range will be that one for which the transistor will remain within the active region, not just entering into the saturation region. So it will be the verge of the saturation region. So the input voltage should be equals to the output voltage plus some positive voltage. The output voltage will be VCC minus alpha times I RC divided by 2, because the entire operation of the common mode voltage, as long as these conditions are fulfilled, that means these two transistors are in active region and the bias for these current source are being maintained. So both of their current, the collector current of these both of these transistors will be alpha times I divided by 2. So that is why output voltage will remain constant for having this expression VCC minus alpha I divided by 2. And so when you are applying this input voltage VCM equals to that output voltage plus some positive voltage around 0.4 volts, so that will confirm this collector to base junction in is getting a negative potential. So that basically makes this collector base junction in forward bias. So that will make this transistor to saturation. So this is the maximum range of the common mode voltage. Now the minimum range will be that one for which this current source uh, will lose the proper bias and cannot maintain this current. So this is the condition for which the current source is going to lose the bias or lose the proper bias, exact bias. So this is the minimum biasing voltage is required to maintain the constant current, and that is the for the minimum voltage for which this current source will be maintained, the biasing for the current source will be maintained. So that will be the minimum range of the common mode voltage range. Next one is the differential mode response. Now for small Vi, we have seen that emitter current is I divided by 2 plus delta I, because I divided by 2 is the bias current. When there is no signal, Vi is 0, so I divided by 2 will have in each of these transistor. And when you are applying some small voltage to one of this input and other voltage you are keeping at the ground potential, so basically you are applying some differential input. So due to the positive voltage of Vi, Q1 will have a, a slightly greater voltage than the bias voltage, and that voltage is delta I. And the E2, the emitter current of this transistor 2, will have the same amount of same amount of current less than the bias current. So that is why this delta I amount of current gets increased in emitter current of Q1, and that the same amount of current gets decreased uh, in the emitter current of the transistor Q2. So therefore, the output voltage V01 we can easily calculate as shown over here, and similarly the output voltage we can easily calculate as shown over here. So here is a plus delta I exist, and here is a minus delta I. Now when you are subtracting them to measure the actual output voltage, so that includes this delta I factor. So it represents the differential mode current due to presence of the differential mode input. So right now you have a finite non-zero voltage V0, and which depends on this differential current delta I. And look at here, the common mode voltage or the common mode current, which is I divided by 2, that is the bias current, is absent in the final expression of the V0. Now as this V0 gets the differential output voltage, the potential at the emitter, we can see it is just opposite to this output voltage. That means at the emitter voltage there exists no differential term. So the emitter voltage is the, if you consider the resistance across this current source is Rs, the potential gets developed across this Rs due to this current I divided by 2 plus delta I and I divided by 2 minus delta I. So the potential gets developed across this Rs is due to two current which has opposite in phase. So that is why this delta I is absent from the final expression of the voltage across the emitter. The potential across the emitter takes only the DC current I. So that is why we can assume that for differential mode operation, this terminal, common emitter terminal, you can consider the potential is zero. That means the differential voltage or the differential potential at this emitter is equals to 0, or which is equivalent to connecting a ground at this point, because when you are operating in differential mode, the differential current doesn't see any kind of uh, DC resistance or DC current source at this emitter. So the emitter you can think as a zero potential when you are operating in differential mode. Now if you apply, or if you apply the KVL over here, so Vi minus VB1, Vi you are applying, so VB1, which is equals to 0, and similarly 0 minus VBE2 is equals to 0. So finally finally from these two equations, equating these two equations, we can write that Vi is equals to the difference between the base emitter voltage of these two transistors, and the differential base emitter voltage I have denoted as delta VBE. And that is why the differential gain, which is denoted as AD, is equals to V naught divided by Vi, and which is equals to V naught divided by delta VV, because Vi I have obtained as delta VV, and V naught, the expression I put from here, 2 times alpha times delta I times RC divided by delta VV. And we know that delta IC is equals to GM times delta VV. So here IC and is equals to alpha times delta I, because delta I is the emitter current. So alpha times delta I is a delta IC. So as I have replaced this alpha times delta I is equals to GM times delta VV. So final expression we are having 2 times GM multiplied with RC. So this is a differential mode voltage gain that I will also prove using the small signal model also. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss the large signal model first, then the small signal model, then the input differential resistance, in order to show you that the differential resistance for the differential amplifier is higher, two times higher than the single mode operations. And the last one is the common mode rejection ratio. We know from the basic properties of the bipolar junction transistor that IC, collector current, is equals to alpha times IE. Again, IC is approximately equals to this IS times e to the power VBE divided by VT, and this comes from the minority carrier injection. This equation comes. So equating these two terms for the transistor Q1 as well as for transistor Q2, and finally we can easily derive this IE1 from here. So IE1 you can derive as this expression divided by this alpha. So these two equations you will have for this emitter current of transistor Q1 and Q2. Now I'm taking the ratio of IE1 to IE2, where we know that IE1 plus IE2 is equals to I. The summation of these two emitter current is always equals to I. Now there is a little rearrangement, so I'm adding this term at the denominator, so which means I'm adding 1 plus this at the denominator, and I can easily write IC1 equals to alpha I, because this term is I and IE1 is IC1 is equal to alpha I. So here IE1 I am obtaining over here, so multiplying with this alpha I am obtaining this IC1. So this one is the IC1, and similarly I'm getting this IC2 with this expression. Now look at these two expressions here. For the IC1, there exists e to the power minus VID divided by VT at the denominator, and for IC2 we have e to the power plus VID divided by VT at the denominator. Now if I plot these two equations, the normalized plot, that means if I plot IC1 divided by I and IC2 divided by I with respect to the this normalized voltage, that means VID divided by VT, that plot results like this. So here is IC1 divided by I. You can see from here that for VID is equals to 0, you have IC1 is IC1 equals to IC2 is equals to alpha I divided by 2, because this part goes to 1, this part goes to 1. So alpha I divided by 2. So this is actually the DC biasing point, because I divided by 2 is the biasing current, the equal biasing current flows through both of this emitter. So that is why when you are obtaining the collector current just multiply this alpha. So alpha I divided by 2 is the biasing current. So both of these current is passing through this point. So X is the biasing current, and the expression for X is equals to alpha I divided by 2, and that is for VID is equals to 2. Now as VID by VT increases along the positive direction, so this part decreases. And decreasing this part means alpha IC1 is increasing towards alpha I. So that is why IC1 gets increased. You can see from here. So this is a normalized plot. So that is why IC1 divided by I is plotted. So that IC1 divided by I going to be equal to 1, because alpha, the maximum value of the alpha can be equals to 1. So ideally, if you assume that alpha is equals to 1, so IC1 divided by I will reach the maximum value 1 for VID by VT very greater than VT. So, or VID by VT very large. Similarly, when this part VID is going along the negative direction, so this part gets increased. So obviously this IC1 will reduce. So after this 0 point, when VID gets decreased along the negative direction, so this part gets increased. This part gets increased. So that is why IC1 gets decreased. You can see from here. But IC2, when VID is increasing along the negative direction, this IC2 gets increased because this part goes to 0. This exponential part goes to 0. So IC2 gets increased. And the final value of the IC2 is a similar one, that is a plus 1. And for positive value of this IC2 VID, this IC2 gets increased. So this kind of plot you can obtain. And the purpose of the plotting these or explaining the large signal model while plotting the current distribution in each of these transistors is to make you understand that by applying the differential mode or differential voltage, the current gets distributed in each of the transistors equally but opposite in phase. So when IC1 gets increased, the IC2 gets decreased, and the increment and decrements is taking place by the same amplitude in current but opposite in phase. And these are the conclusions that I have obtained from these large signal analysis or from this plot. Here, as already I told, that the increment and decrement of these two collector current of this transistor Q1 and Q2 are opposite in phase but same in magnitude. They intersect at this point, which has a coordinate 0x. 0 is for VID is equals to 0, and when VID, the input differential voltage, is equals to 0, the differential amplifier falls in the operation of the common mode range. So for common mode operation, we know the emitter current of both of these transistors are same, and that is I divided by 2, and their corresponding collector current is alpha I divided by 2. So that is why they are intersecting at the same point, because they are at common mode point having VID is equals to 0 to both of them, because one is connected with the ground and the differential mode voltage which is connected to the another transistor, that is Q1, is right now 0. So both are having same potential at their base. So that means they are in common mode range. So that is why they are carrying the similar amount of current. Now the input voltage, the input differential voltage VID can be amplified as long as the VID stays within this linear region, and the linear region is marked by this dotted line over here. Because you can see from here, from this graph, that if you take the DIC dVID, so that represents the slope. The slope actually nothing but the transconductance gain, because this delta IC is the difference between the collector currents, but the delta VID, as I already have shown you, that VID is basically the difference between the base emitter voltage. So the slope of this graph represents delta IC to delta VD. That ratio actually represents delta IC to delta VBE, and we know that ratio delta IC delta VBE is nothing but the transconductance gain for a transistor, for bipolar junction transistor. But for this case, as the two transistors are used and they are being biased with a common current source I, so their transconductance, their composite transconductance, are different than a single bipolar junction transistor. The slope you can see from here, as VID is increasing from some negative voltage, the slope which was parallel to the x-axis initially, that gets increased. So it is increasing in positive direction, because the slope you can see from here, it is in positive direction. Now as it is increasing and it reaches the maximum position X or the common mode position X, where when both of these transistors are having same potential, which is VID is equals to 0, at that point the transconductance reduced to 0 again, transconductance gain, and the slope reduced to 0 again, but the transconductance gain is reaching its maximum. And at that point, after that point, when VID is increasing along the positive direction, the slope becomes opposite, because it is initially it was increasing. After reaching the maximum transconductance gain, it becomes negative, and again it is reducing. So basically the transconductance plot, if you plot the transconductance for the differential amplifier, that looks like the same one, but there will be a smoother transition around this position X. So here is a current plot, so that is why, but when you will take the differentiation over this, so there will be a smoother transition. Otherwise the transconductance gain plot will looks like the similar one that I have shown, but for the lower portion of the X. So however, the transconductance gain will increase as the curve will be much more steeper. So steeper curves represents more transconductance gain, but the steeper curves limits the accommodation for widely varying VID. So if your VID varies and your curves, these amplification curves, the linear region gets shrinked due to increase of due to high transconductance gain, then some of the input voltage, the differential input voltage, can fall beyond the linear region, and that for that amount of voltage, your transistor will go into the saturation region, either saturation region or cutoff region. And for those amount of, or for those range of the input differential voltage, you may not have, or you cannot have the amplified or corresponding amplified voltage at the output. So that is the major problem. So therefore, as a first step of the operational amplifier, which is represented by the differential amplifier, we generally cannot make this differential gain much more high, because or rather we want this differential gain a bit less in order to accommodate a wide variety or wide range of this input voltage. So that is why, if the inherent differential gain is so large that uh, for our desired operation, the range of the differential input voltage falls the outside of the linear region, so we need to decrease that transconductance gain, and we can do easily, because we have seen in the discussion of the bipolar junction transistor, or the voltage divided bias configuration, that this emitter resistor basically reduces the gain. So the same applications or the same idea we can apply over here by connecting the emitter resistance at the emitter of both of these transistors. So applying the larger emitter resistance reduces the gain larger and increases the linear region, you can see from here. So by this way we can accommodate a wider range of the VID, or the differential input voltage, because this is the first block of the operational amplifier. So we need to allow, or we need to allow for a wide range of the differential voltage that can be accommodated. For that we can have the amplification. So that is why we generally need a lower voltage gain for the differential amplifier when we are going to build up an operational amplifier. But as we know, the operational amplifier is a very high gain amplifier, so we need to add a second stage which can compensate that gain what I have compromised in the first stage. So the second gain stage we generally need to apply in order to increase the gain, and the second gain stage is generally of the type of the uh, unbalanced differential amplifier. Now let's see what happens for the small signal operation. These two currents I have obtained from the large signal analysis for the differential amplifier. So IC1 for transistor Q1 and IC2 for transistor Q2. Now I am multiplying this e to the power VI divided by 2 VT in the numerator and denominator of these IC1 and IC2, and finally I am getting these expressions. And since I'm going to discuss these small signal operations, small signal operation means I'm considering that VID is very less than twice VT, because the twice VT is right now appearing everywhere, both in the numerator and denominator of this both of this current. Now VT, we know at room temperature it has a value of 26 millivolt. So twice VT is 52 millivolt. Therefore VID should be very less than 52 millivolt while you are going to see or going to analyze the differential amplifier using the small signal operation. So when I am assuming this condition, basically this e to the power factor we can reduce down, or we can express by its series including these first two terms. So 1 plus minus VID divided by VT, and I am writing these two terms over here everywhere where this VT is e to the VID divided by 2 VT exists. I am writing this series expression of exponential term. And finally, I'm getting what? I'm getting IC1 is equals to alpha I divided by 2 plus this term, and IC2 is equals to alpha I divided by 2 minus the same term. Now, what is alpha I divided by 2? We have seen in the large signal analysis that alpha I divided by 2 is the bias current, or this current is for the common mode current when VID is equals to 0, means the common mode voltage is applied. And common mode voltage means initially transistor Q2 was connected with the ground and base of the transistor Q1 was connected with the differential mode voltage. Now when differential voltage is 0, so right now both of the both of the transistors are connected with a 0 potential. Therefore they are getting the common mode response, and the common mode response means they are carrying the same collector current alpha I divided by 2, and that is why both of them are having this alpha I divided by 2 over here. And this term represents the differential current due to presence of the differential mode voltage VID and also VID. Now we can see from here, as I told, VID is equals to 0, these two currents are same. Now the incremental current which is appearing due to presence of the differential mode voltage, and from here you can think that although you have applied this differential voltage VID at the positive terminal is connected with the transistor Q1 and negative terminal is connected with the transistor Q2. So basically the differential mode voltage you have applied to one transistor with respect to the other. And when I have done this small signal analysis, what I am seeing, the differential current IC, or the incremental current or the incremental collector current in transistor Q1 is appearing due to the incremental change of VID divided by 2, or we can say plus VID divided by 2, and the incremental change in the collector current of the transistor Q2 is appearing due to minus VID divided by 2. So basically the application of the differential voltage with respect to each of these transistors actually gets divided into two equal but opposite voltage, and that voltage are being applied, and due to that opposite in magnitude but opposite equal in magnitude but opposite in phase voltage, the differential mode operation is carrying on. And that is why right now we can write this VBE1, which is equals to VB plus VID divided by 2, and VB2 will be equals to VB minus VID divided by 2, where this VB we can assume that is the voltage you will have when VID is equals to 0. That means the common base emitter voltage when the common mode voltage is applied. Therefore, the transconductance GM we can easily write, and we know the expression for the transconductance is equals to IC divided by VT, and here IC, this IC is the biasing IC, biasing current IC. You should remember this term when I have discussed the small signal model for the bipolar junction transistor. So GM, this transconductance gain, is equals to the bias DC current IC divided by VT, and the bias DC current IC is nothing but alpha I divided by 2. So that is why I have replaced it over here. Now let's compare the voltage gain for the unbalanced case and for balanced case. Unbalanced case means when we are measuring the output voltage for each output terminal, or for one of the output terminals with respect to ground. and the balanced case means when we are measuring the output voltage with respect to each of the output terminals. So this is the GM, the expression for GM I have obtained in my last slide, and we can see, and also this IC1 and IC2, these two expressions also I have derived in my last slide also, and we can see from here this alpha I divided by 2, this is the DC current, and this DC current appears in the expression of GM. So GM is basically alpha I divided by 2 Vt, and here also alpha I divided by 2 Vt is appearing for the differential current over here. So this expression represents the GM also. So that is why this differential current I or AC current I can write as a plus minus GM times VID divided by 2, plus for the IC1 and minus for the IC2. This part and this part I am including. So the voltage gain, output voltage, I can write IC times RC. So finally this expression I am having. And we can divide this V0 by this VID, and I am getting this voltage gain for the unbalanced case. Now let's see for the balanced case. So this is the output voltage for for transistor Q1, and this is the for transistor Q2, and the differential mode voltage, since I'm going to investigate, so that difference will be like this one, and from here if I subtract this IC1 IC2 from this IC1, this common mode or this bias voltage bias current will be cancelled out, and finally V0 will be represented by this. And here we know what is alpha I divided by 2 Vt, that is GM. So AD, which is the differential mode voltage, that I can write as V0 divided by VID, and which is equals to minus GM times RC for inverting input. That means when you are applying the input to the first or the Q1 transistor, and the gain will be equals to GM plus GM times RC when for the non-inverting input, that means when you have applied the input to the base of the transistor Q2. And look the difference between them. Either you can have this inverting configuration or the non-inverting configuration. So like this unbalanced case, you can also write this differential mode gain as plus minus GM times RC. So what is the difference between this unbalanced voltage gain and the balanced voltage gain? The difference is that this balanced voltage gain is 2 times than this unbalanced voltage gain. So this one is the higher than this one. But as I told that generally we need to connect some emitter resistor in order to increase the linear region to accommodate the wide variation of the differential voltage. So that is why we should investigate the voltage gain with respect to the emitter resistance. So first, what I have obtained for the emitter resistance Re is this one, that is IC is equal to GM times VID divided by 2, and GM can easily be represented by alpha divided by Re. Now what is this Re? This is a derivation of Re. So GM, as I told, is alpha divided by Re, and which is the expression of GM I have obtained by delta IC divided by delta VB. Now Re generally be defined as the ratio of delta VB divided by delta IE. So this is the ratio of the base emitter voltage to differential base emitter voltage to differential emitter current. It is that this definition is similar to this R pi that I have defined in case of small signal model, and which was the ratio of delta VB to delta IB. And we know IE is equal to IC plus IB, and from there I have replaced IC is equal to beta times IB, and so finally IE can be represented as 1 plus beta times IB. So therefore R pi can be represented as 1 plus beta times Re, because here this IB I have replaced by this IE divided by 1 plus beta. So finally delta VB divided by delta IE is appearing in this expression. So and 1 plus beta is appearing at the numerator. So finally that ratio I have replaced, and R pi is coming as 1 plus beta times Re. And as beta is very greater than 1, so is approximately coming as beta times Re. And we know what is GM. GM is equals to beta divided by R pi. This expression already I have obtained. Here also, from this expression also you can easily obtain this expression. And R pi, I have written this expression over here. So approximating beta is is very greater than 1 gets cancelled out. So GM you can finally find as the ratio of alpha divided by RE. So that ratio I have used over here. Why this expression I am writing over here? Because I am going to investigate the differential voltage gain with this emitter resistance RE. So since I'm going to investigate with this emitter resistance RE, so I should replace, or I should represent this voltage gain such a way so that where this emitter current is is appearing. So that is why in order to accommodate this emitter current, so I am taking into account this RE. So it will be clear why I am using this RE later on. Now what is IE? IE is equal to alpha times IC. Now from here, if you write IC is equal to alpha time IE, so IE will be equals to VID divided by 2RE, and that you can confirm by applying the KVL. When you apply the KVL throughout this loop, you will find over here, so VID you are applying, so this is a small RE is appearing, and right now this capital RE is 0. This condition I am considering, although in this figure it is not showing, but for the time being assume this capital RE are 0. So there exists only the small RE at the emitter, because that RE is appearing due to the differential VB and differential emitter current IE. So that emitter current is appearing over here between the base emitter junction. So when you are applying the KVL around this loop, assuming this RE is capital RE are 0, so here is one small RE and here is one small RE. So VID, one small RE, IE times RE plus I times small RE is appearing. So finally you are having this expression of IE is equals to VID divided by 2RE, assuming that capital RE is equals to 0. Now when capital RE are not equals to 0, it is very simple. You just have to write VID divided by 2 small RE plus capital RE, and that is why I have represented this gain in terms of this small RE, so that it will be easier to add this capital RE with the small RE in the expression of IE. And here I have assumed this IC is equal to alpha IE, that I have assumed over here also. And now IC, we know IC is equal to plus minus GM times VID divided by 2. And what is this differential voltage gain? Differential voltage gain is differential voltage divided by this differential input voltage, and that is equals to this alpha times small RE plus capital RE, because here in this gain expression I have written that IC times RC, and right now this GM includes this capital RE along with this small RE, because you can see from here this GM was defined initially alpha divided by small RE, but right now as this capital RE appears in this emitter, so this capital RE will be included in the expression of GM. So GM times VID divided by 2 can be represented as, so GM can be represented as alpha divided by small RE plus capital RE times VID divided by 2 times RC. Now since it is a differential voltage gain, so that 2 will be cancelled out, and finally I am dividing this V0 by VID, so I am getting this expression. So in this voltage gain, since this capital RE appears at the numerator, so this voltage gain gets reduced due to presence of this capital RE in the numerator of this voltage gain. And this is also the chance conductance gains also gets reduced due to the presence of this capital RE in the expression of this GM. Now the input differential resistance. It is very simple to find out the input differential resistance, because you just apply a differential voltage VID and measure the current IB and take the ratio. So here analytically we can also find out, because VID divided by IE is equals to RID, the input differential resistance, and we know IE is equals to VID divided by 2RE, that already I have obtained in my last slide, and that was equals to 1 plus beta times IB, because IE is equals to IC plus IB, and where I have replaced that IC by beta times IB, and I have take this IB common. So that is why IE can be equated with both of these expressions, VID divided by 2RE as well as 1 plus beta times IB. And from here I'm taking this ratio VID divided by IB. So directly I am getting the expression for RID, the input differential resistance, and that is equal to 2 times RE times 1 plus beta. Now beta is very greater than 1, so that is why beta times RE 2 times beta RE will be for this input differential resistance RID. But we know beta RE is equals to R pi. From the small signal model we can relate that thing, and in my last slide I also proved that relation, that beta times RE is equals to R pi. And for the single mode operation we have seen the input impedance was R pi, which is equals to HI in terms of the H parameter model. But right now for the differential mode operation the input resistance is coming as 2 R pi, and if you replace the small signal model, so that will be equals to the 2 times HI. So the input differential resistance is twice larger than the single mode resistance, single mode operations. Now let's consider the most important one, that is the common mode rejection ratio. Now in case of common mode rejection ratio, I have replaced this current source I by its source impedance RE, which is very large one. And here I am assuming the I current is flowing through this emitter resistance RE. Now since the common mode rejection ratio is going to be investigated, I am assuming, or basically I fed the input of these two transistors by the common voltage VICM at both of these inputs, and therefore both of these transistors are right now carrying the same emitter current I divided by 2. So I can easily represent these differential amplifier by two separate amplifiers, where this emitter resistance RE I can represent by this 2 times RE, because this I divided by 2 currents are flowing through each of these transistors. So separating means when you are connect each of these transistors, these 2RE will appear parallel to each other. So finally the RE will be provided to you. So we can easily represent this separate circuit in place of this differential amplifier, and this is a legitimate one. Now as I told that in order to be a perfect differential amplifier, both of this RC and this Q1 and Q2 must be matched to each other. So here I am going to violate this operation or this condition. I am considering that this RC of transistor Q2 is not exactly matched with the transistor Q1. So this RC is a little bit mismatched with this RC of the transistor Q1 and by the order of delta RC. So therefore the collector resistance of the transistor Q2 will be RC plus delta RC. Now the output voltage V01 for the transistor Q1, and that will include alpha times RC divided by small re plus 2 times R capital E times VICM, because common mode voltage I have applied. But the output voltage for the transistor Q2 include this collector impedance, which includes this RC plus delta RC. Now the total output will be equals to V01 minus V02, because the differential operation we generally measure the output with respect to each other. And look at here, for the common mode input the output must be 0. That we have seen in my earlier slide and in even my earlier lecture also. But here, due to this little mismatch in the collector impedance, we are getting some non-zero output voltage, the differential output voltage, due to presence of the common mode voltage even. So that output voltage is due to this delta RC. If delta RC is equal to 0, output voltage is equal to 0. So the common mode voltage gain can be written as the output voltage divided by the common mode voltage, input voltage, and that will be this one. And this expression can be rewritten in this form. And here I am assuming that alpha is approximately equals to 1 and R small e is very less than 2 times R capital E. Now this is the common mode voltage gain, and the differential voltage gain already I have obtained, which has such kind of expression. So in the differential voltage gain, we can see that voltage gain depends upon the collector in resistance divided by the emitter resistance. So the larger collector resistance represents larger differential voltage gain, and the larger emitter resistance represents the smaller differential voltage gain. Now the CMRR. CMRR is the ratio of the differential voltage gain to common mode voltage gain, and that finally we can write this CMRR is equals to 2 times GM times R capital E divided by delta RC divided by RC. It means, so these are the conclusions. So as this RE gets increased, CMRR gets increased. So what is RE? RE is the source impedance of the current source that I have assumed initially. And if RE goes to infinity, CMRR will go to infinity, and that is the desired one and the ideal case. So in order to make CMRR very high, we have to ensure that RE must be as high as possible. So how can we make it? We have to design a current source which has a very high source impedance. So basically, if we can design a current source which will be very close to ideal one, then the source impedance of that current source also will be very close to the ideal one, and that one is the infinity. So by designing a proper current source over here, we can make this RE very large. Consequently, we can make this CMRR very large. Along with that, if we can make this GM large, the transconductance gain very high, we can also make this CMRR very large. But in case of operational amplifier, although this GM, this transconductance gain is a bit compromised due to accommodation of the wide variation of the differential input voltage, so that transconductance gain we must be compensated by a second gain stage. So in that case, by adding a second gain stage also, the CMRR can be made high. Next one is the CMRR gets reduced if this delta RC gets increased. So we can see from here that if RC gets increased, CMRR also will be increased. But if delta RC gets increased, the CMRR will be decreased. So if there exists any mismatch in this collector resistance, the CMRR will be decreased. Another point is to note that since in this case I am assuming only the single stage differential amplifier which has this GM, and that GM includes the emitter resistance R capital E, not this one, the individual emitter resistance that I have assumed in my earlier slide in order to increase the linear region and in order to reduce the voltage gain or the transconductance gain. So that GM which includes that RE which appears the at the emitter of the individual transistor. So due to presence of that RE, that GM will be reduced. So we can conclude that the presence of the individual emitter resistance also reduces the CMRR.